Good morning. Y'all know my name is Sandy, and I've been coming to this church since 1980. So if you can do the math, it's over 40 years. And I'm going to do a little history for you. My life has been like a tree with deep roots in God's Word and having a relationship with God. I was dedicated as a baby in Northern Baptist Church. I was taught to tithe to the church and to dedicate your time and talents to the church at an early age. My mother was a Sunday school teacher, and my stepfather was a bus driver for the church. I would teach my mother's Sunday school class when she was ill, and I also was involved in various programs of the church. I was baptized at the age of 7 and always wanted to be a missionary, but God had other plans for my life. Just like a tree that has many branches, so my life has gone many different paths. While living in Pennsylvania with my first husband, Bill, and 2 young daughters, Kelly and Jennifer, I was a volunteer youth director at the Methodist Church, which we attended at that time. While living, We then moved to Texas when Bill was transferred with his job to U.S. Steel. Most of you know that Bill was my church sweetheart, which ended after 10 years of marriage in a divorce. At that point, I found myself as a single working parent raising 2 girls. God is my anchor, and I depended on Him to guide me. I was still going to Baker Road Baptist Church with 2 girls and tithing what I could give at that time. And yes, I was Baptist. As you can see, one of my tree branches had been cut off, and my roots were strong, and my relationship with God was strong. He led me through the stormy times. I was so shy and not trusting anyone at that point in my life, but God had other plans and brought Bob into my life. God knew that I needed someone that would bring me happiness, adventure, and the spice of my life. God knew that Bob needed a family and someone to bring God back to his life. Bob was an altar boy when he was young and quit the church shortly after. His mother died when he was 16, and he was left caring for younger siblings. Then I met Bob. After 2 years of dating, Bob proposed, and we got married in Trinity Episcopal Church, right here at this altar. 2 years later, we were blessed with a son, Jeff. We were involved in many of the functions of the church, such as greeters, ushers, Sunday school teacher, Sunday school director, youth leader, Bishop Hines leader, Daughters of the King, cookers of the parish retreat, vestry, senior warden, and many other functions. As you can see, we were very involved in the church. All 3 of my children have been coming to this church. 2 were confirmed, 1 was baptized. Our children have been involved over the years in various activities in the church and have been good stewards of their time and talent. Their roots were grounded in this church with God's people and God's love. My daughter Kelly and her family attend United Methodist Church in Friendswood, where she is teaching Sunday school and helping with the youth program. Her daughters are also helping in the nursery at that church. My other daughter, Jennifer, and her family attend St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in the Heights. She is helping with the youth program and have been asked to be on the vestry this coming year. Jeff was an acolyte in this church for 10 years, and now he works on Sundays, and he attends when he can get off work. All 6 of my grandchildren have been baptized at Trinity Episcopal Church. Many of them you have seen from time to time when they attend while staying at Grandma's house. I believe in being a living example to the young children about God's love and what His Word is all about. Because of Trinity Episcopal Church, great example of stewardship of time, talent, and tithing, my children and grandchildren have benefited from the example to be good stewards in their church to make sure our future generation will be able to hear God's word and experience God's love for one another. Bob's talent was cooking for many of the events for the church. He was shopping for supplies to cook for the Tuesday vestry meeting, but God took him away on that Monday before the meeting. Bob was the spice of my life, and without him in my life, it has changed in many ways. Yes, it left a hole in my heart, and with the help of my family and my church family and my friends, it helped me through the tough days. The last 2 years have been has not been easy adjusting to cooking for myself, and you all know I didn't cook, and doing things that Bob did, and the worst is coming home to an empty house. I know God has and always will be guiding me through my everyday life, even especially the tough days. Yes, throughout the years, many branches of my tree has fallen off and withered away, but through all the storms that washed up against my tree, I continue to stand strong because my roots are firmly planted in God's word and God's love. Stewardship is all about giving your time. Ephesians 5:16 advises us to redeem our time for God's glory. No church will survive without members volunteering their time to help support functions and activities in the church. Stewardship is your talents, Ephesians 2:10. Tell us that we are ordained with unique talents and we should walk in them. Everyone has unique talents to use to sustain and grow this church. Stewardship is about treasures. Haggai 2:18 tells us that all the material things are not ours, they're God's. Using our treasure to support our church, we are making sure that the future generations will have a place to come and to learn about God's love. We are all responsible to plant strong roots regarding God's love and God's word in the next generation, so they will be able to withstand the storms that life may send their way. Please think about how you can use your time, talents, and treasure for God's church. And I wanted to see if I can share another story. Okay. Now, and it happened just like Meredith said last Sunday as she's coming to church, she changed her message. If you follow me on Facebook, I have a family of raccoons that are living under my shed, and they're causing havoc in my yard and in my garden. So I had a lot of advice, and I kind of look at this as God in my life. A lot of people give you advice, and we follow it. So some of it was throw mothballs out there. Well, they ate the mothballs and played with them. Some advice was, catch them. So I put a trap. I caught the first one. I call animal control, and they said, make sure you cover him. So I run home, cover him up so the sun doesn't hurt him, and they picked that one up. Well, I caught the second one, put the trap out. He got out, and it's kind of like what God is telling us. Okay, he's covering us with his love, and we sneak out. Well, I have more in my garden. So I put the trap out again, and I caught the third one. And this is a big one. So, and I was telling Christy earlier, yeah, it's a big one. I put a towel over him because they say the sun shouldn't shine on the raccoon. He took the towel and wadded it up and tore it up and put it in the cage. So it's kind of like God's love. He is putting the towel over us and guiding us, and what do? We tear it up and throw it away. So I'm getting ready for church, and I go out there. He tore up the first towel. I go out and I put another one because I know the sun's going to hurt this raccoon. Again, it's God's love that's covering us. He tore it up again. And I thought, I'll never get to church. So I go back out there. Now, if my neighbors hear me talking to this raccoon, I'm like, you got to keep covered. It's going to hurt you. I cover him up again. Now, I'm like, I got to go to church, so you got to keep this cover on. Now, I left. I know I'm going to have to go back and probably put another cover. And that's kind of like God's love. He puts it over and over us over again, and he's done that throughout my life. Maybe I've thrown that towel off, maybe I've tore it up, but you know what? I know he's always going to be there, and he's going to cover me up with his love and guidance. So if you tear up the towel, he's going to put another one, and just let him keep doing it because he loves all of us. And it goes along with Mickey's sermon. We have to love one another. And yes, I don't love those raccoons, but I'm going to protect them until someone can come and take them. Thank you.